Hello and welcome to this exploring session, and today we are looking at the Wisdom of Doctor Dodypoll, as it hath been sundry times acted by the children of Pauls. It was printed in 1600. It was probably produced maybe the year before, or maybe even like the same year. It was seems to have followed on fairly swiftly on from actual production. As a play for the children of Pauls, it has a massive cast, of which, even though we have assembled this fine group of people, we may accidentally crash into ourselves at certain points. Hopefully that will not happen. We're going to rattle through some scenes together, and some scenes will look in more detail on their own. To go through the wonderfully titled, I think we should just take a moment to just linger on the wonders that is the name of Dr. Dodypoll, which is just lovely, very pleasing. So reading today, Dr. Dodypoll. Well, not actually reading Dr. Dodypoll himself, and Catherine today is.
Hello, I'm Helen Good. I'm a historian and I'm in Yorkshire.
Reading Hans or Hans and Constantine today is.
Hi, I'm Steve Longstaff. I'm a scholar of early modern drama based in Lancaster in the UK.
Reading Cornelia and Vandercleave today is.
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Amisu and I'm also living in Romford.
And reading Moth and Hardenberg is.
I am Lois Potter. I'm in London, retired academic.
I'm not sure if it's Berg or Berg, but we'll see. Reading Lassenberg today is.
Hi, I'm Tamara. I'm an actor. I am stuck in Germany. I really want to come back to London at some point.
Today, reading Albadura. I think one of the only people reading only one part is.
Hi there, my name's Sasha Cooper and I'm a professional actress, performer, director and writer based in Brighton in the UK, and I'm sick of the new government guidelines already.
Insert guidelines where applicable. Reading Flores and Leander today is.
Hello, my name is Lynn Freitas. I'm a teacher. I live in the northwestern United States.
And reading Merchant and Alfonso today is.
Hi, I'm Alan Scott. I'm neither an actor nor an academic, and I'm under house arrest in Suffolk.
And reading Hyanthe and Casimir today is.
Hi, I'm Eric, and I've just noticed this play does not have a prologue, which is very interesting, but we can talk about that in a minute.
And reading Lucilia and Hosherman is.
Hi, I'm Sarah Blake. I'm an actor, writer and director, also living in Germany, but I'm actually glad to be here.
And I am your host, Robert Crighton. I'm in charge of reading stage directions and orchestrating random bear attacks. See previous episodes. All plays should have a random bear attack. It is decreed from now on. So there is indeed no prologue. That doesn't mean there wasn't a prologue for the original performances or for various performances, as prologues are sometimes a movable feast. However, nothing is recorded in the printing of it. So we're going to leap straight into Act 1, Scene 1, and it's been a while, I think, since we had a proper act scene structure. It's quite novel. So. A curtain drawn. Earl Lassenberg is discovered like a painter, painting Lucilia, who sits working on a piece of cushion work.
Welcome, bright morn, that with thy golden rays reveals the variant colours of the world. Look here, and see if thou canst find dispersed the glorious parts of fair Lucilia. Take them and join them in the heavenly spheres for lovers do to adore and wonder at. And this, long since, the high gods would have done, but that they could not bring it back again when they had lost so great divinity.
You paint your flattering words, Lord Lassenberg, making a curious pencil of your tongue. And that fair artificial hand of yours were fitter to have painted heaven's fair story than here to work on antics and on me. Thus, for my sake, you, of a noble earl, are glad to be a mercenary painter.
painter, fair Lucilia. Why, the world, with all her beauty, was by painting made. Look on the heavens, coloured with golden stars, the firmamental ground of it all blue. Look on the air, where with 100 changes the watery rainbow doth embrace the earth. Look on the summer fields adorned with flowers. How much is nature's painting honoured there? Look in the mines and in the eastern shore, where all our metals and dear gems are drawn. Though fair themselves made better by their foils, look on that little world, the twofold man, whose fairer parcel is the weaker still, and see what azure veins in stream-like form divide the rosy beauty of the skin. I speak not of the sundry shapes of beasts, the several colours of the elements, whose mixture shapes the world's variety in making all things by their colours known. And, to conclude, nature herself divine, in all things she hath made, is a mere painter.
And kisses her hand.
Now, by this kiss, the admirer of thy skill, thou art well worthy the honour thou hast given with so sweet words to thy eye-ravishing art, of which my beauties can deserve no part.
From these base antics, where my hand hath spaced to thy several parts, if I, uniting all, had figured there the true Lucilia, then mightst thou justly wonder at mine art, and devout people would from far repair like pilgrims with their duteous sacrifice, adoring thee as regent of their loves. Here, in the centre of this marigold, like a bright diamond, I enchant thine eye. Here, underneath this little rosy bush, thy crimson cheeks peers forth more fair than it. Here Cupid, hanging down his wings, doth sit, comparing cherries to thy ruby lips. Here is thy brow, thy hair, thy neck, thy hand, of purpose all in several shrouds dispersed. Least ravished eyes should dote on mine own work, or envy burning eyes should malice it.
No more, my lord. See, here comes Hans, our man.
And enter Hans.
We have the finest painter here at board wages that ever made fleur-de-lis, and the best bedfellow too, for I may lie all night triumphing from corner to corner while he goes to see the fairies. I, for my part, see nothing, but hear a strange noise sometimes. Well, I'm glad we are so haunted so with fairies, for I cannot set a clean pump down, but I find $1 in it in the morning. See, my mistress Lucilia, she's never from him. I pray God he paints no pictures with her, but I hope my fellow hireling will not be so saucy. But we have a wench coming for you, lordings, with a wooers, the finest wench. Wink, wink, people, dear people, and you be wise, and shut, oh shut, your weeping eyes.
Enter Cornelia Sola, looking upon the picture of Albadura in a little jewel and singing. Enter the doctor and the merchant following and hearkening to her as she sings. You do not need to sing, you can just say it.
What is love? For sure, it is a thing. It is a prick. It is a thing. It's a pretty, pretty thing. It is a fire. It is a coal whose flame creeps in at every hole. And as my wits do best devise, love's dwelling is in ladies' eyes.
Rare wench.
Fair prince, thy picture is not here impressed with such perfection as within my breast.
Soft, Master Doctor.
Cornelia, by God, this paltry marchand be too bold. It's too saucy, by God. Fool, hold off hand. Fool, let the doctor speak.
Now, my brave wooers, how they strive for a Jew's trump.
Madam, Me love you. Me desire to marry you. Me pray you not say no.
Master Doctor, I think you do not love me. I am sure you shall not marry me, and in good sadness I must needs say no.
What you say you to this, Master Doctor? Mistress, let me speak. That I do lovely, I dare not say, lest I should offend you. That I would marry you, I'd rather you should conceive than I should utter. And I do live or die upon your monosyllable, aye or nay.
By God, if you will see de Marchand hang himself, say no. A good chasse, by God.
Filthy French jesters, I am a Dutch gentleman.
Mistress, I'll bring you from Arabia, Turkey, and India, where the sun doth rise, miraculous gems, rare stuff of precious work, to beautify you more than all the paintings of women with their colour-fading cheeks.
You bring stuff for her. You bring pudding. Me with 1, 2, 3 pence more than price. Buy it from thee. And her too, by God. By God, thou sell a father for 2 pence more. Madam, me give you restorative. Me give you things, but touch you, make you fair. Me give you things, make you strong, make you live 6, 7, 300 a year. You no point so, Marchand. Marchand run from you 2, 3, 4 years together. Who shall kiss you then? Who shall embrace you then? Who shall touch your fine hand? I shall, oh sweet, by God.
Indeed, Monsieur Doctor, your commodities are rare. A guard of urinals in the morning, a plaguey fellow at midnight, a fusty apothecary, ever at hand with his fustian drugs, tending your piss-pot worship.
By God, scurvy Marchand, me beat thee stark dead, and make thee live again for save the law.
A plaguey Marchand, by God! It made the doctor angry.
Now, madam, by my troth, you be very fair.
You mock me, Monsieur Doctor. I know the contrary.
No? What you know? You know, see yourself. By God, me see you. Me speak what me see. You no point speak so.
Peace, doctor, I advise you, do not court in my master's hearing, you were best.
And enter Flores.
Where are these wooers here? Poor, silly men, highly deceived to gape for marriage here, only for gain. I have another reach more high than base spirits can aspire. Yet I must use this doctor's secret aid that hath already promised me a drug whose virtues shall affect whole desires.
Ah, Monsieur Flores, me be your worship's servant. Lay my hand under your lordship's foot, by my troth.
Ah, Master Doctor, you are welcome to us, and you, Albertus. It doth please me much to see you vowed rivals thus agree.
Agreed! By my troth, she shall not have him.
You'll find that not in your urines, Monsieur Docteur.
Monsieur Flores, come hither, pray.
What says Master Doctor? Have you remembered me?
Aye, by God. Here be the poor. You give the half at once.
But are you sure it will work the effect?
Me? Be sure? By God, she no sooner drink, but she hang your neck about, she stroke your beard, she nip your cheek, she bust your lip, by God.
But wilt thou eat me, doctor?
By God, me must show you the virtue by plain demonstration.
Well, tell me, is it best in wine or no?
By God, the marchand, I think he kissed my sweet mistress.
Nay, pray thee, doctor, speak, is best in wine or no?
Oh, good Lord, in wine. What else, I pray you? You give the wench to love what? Water? By God, may be a shame of you.
Well, thanks, gentle doctor. And now, my friends, I look today for strangers of great state, and must crave liberty to provide for them. Painter, go leave your work, and you, Lucilia, keep you, I charge you, in your chamber close. See that all things be in order set, both for our muse and our large carouse, that after our best country fashion, I may give entertainment to the prince.
One of your hot boys, sir, is out of tune.
Out of tune, villain, which way?
Be drunk, sir, and please you.
Is it night with him already? Well, get other music.
So we had need in truth, sir.
And exit horns following Casimir and Lucilia.
Me no trouble you by my faith. Me take my leave. See, the unmannerly marchand stay by God.
Sir, with your leave, I'll choose some other time when I may less offend you with my stay.
And they have now all exited, leaving Flores and Cornelia.
Albertus, welcome. And now, Cornelia, are we alone? Look first. Aye, all is safe. Daughter, I charge thee now, even by that love in which we have been partial towards thee, above thy sister, blessed with beauty's gift, receive this virtuous powder in my hands, and, having mixed it in a bowl of wine, give it unto the prince in his carouse. I mean no villainy herein to him, but love to thee, wrought by that charmed cup. We are, by birth, more noble than our fortunes. Why should we then shun any means we can to raise us to our ancient state again? Thou art my eldest care, thou best deservest to have thy imperfections helped by love.
Then, Father, shall we seek sinister means, treated by the laws of God and men? Can that love prosper which is not begun by the direction of some heavenly fate?
I know not. I never made bishop yet. I must provide for mine, and still prefer above all these the honor of my house. Come, therefore, no words, but perform my charge.
If you will have it, so I must consent.
And finally, everybody is off stage. Oh, lots and lots of things in there. I think one of the things to remember, and this seems to be something that pops up in other Boys Company plays, is there's an awful lot of flow. People sort of sauntering on, sauntering around, still being in the background, but not in the scene. So, you know, if you were sitting there for a while going, have Lucilia and Lassenberg exited? No, they haven't. They're still doing whatever they're doing. And there's an awful lot of innuendo in here, and how explicit and how far it's going is really up for grabs. You know, there's an, you know, the glorious parts of Fair Lucilia. He's definitely, he doesn't need to show her his etchings because she because he's doing the painting live. So there's everybody's interested and at it or not. We have the song, I don't know if anyone noted, so the song Cornelia sings is by George Peele. It's from a play that is now lost called The Hunting of Cupid, which we have done on the podcast. I can recommend what we've done with the fragments on that on the podcast. Listeners at home, there will be a link on the show notes for that. It is a proper earworm, which is why it sticks. There's something about what thing is love for sure. I am, it is a thing. It is a prick. It is a thing. It is a pretty, pretty thing. It sticks in your head. It'll be stuck in your head for days. I'm sure it's designed to work that way. I don't really know where to start because there's so many relationships and things thrown at us in this scene. Anyone want to leap in with thoughts or confusions or questions? Nobody wants to go in first, I can tell. Do the other characters, when with the contracted M, are they used? Alan went for Monsieur, but I'm wondering if they use Master instead.
Well, specifically, there's a Monsieur a few lines later.
It's used by the Doctor, though, who would use it. I'm wondering whether the other characters would use a Master or not. I genuinely don't know.
Yes. Master is more often MR, and just M. I don't know. I felt I felt it was definitely should be Monsieur when by or to the Doctor.
Well, I've got quite a few plays we've done where it's been it's just been an M for something, and it's not necessarily been Monsieur. So I'm not sure about that.
Yeah,
it certainly could work. But I don't know if there's anything authoritative. Alan?
I think actually it could well have been played up as Monsieur, you know, because there's no point in pronouncing foreign words properly.
Okay, so we've got a whole host of people doing all sorts of things. I'm fascinated by the way the Doctor, you know, having sold this love charm or whatever to Flores, he's clearly not interested in explaining the prescription because he's too busy watching the merchant going, you know, what? Yeah, just put it in whatever you like. Helen.
Yeah, but he does say half.
Yeah, that's important.
Which is a message that doesn't get passed on.
But there's so much amorous language all the way through it. I mean, it's everybody's horny in this play.
And that's established very quickly and early on.
Yeah.
And for boys' company.
Yeah, there's always something slightly porny about boys' companies. It's quite disturbing, I know, but that's sort of part of their shtick.
Everybody's quite flowery as well.
Very expressive language again. And a bit to the point at times. So why not?
I mean, Hans's dialogue is really nice when he's coming on talking about, you know, he goes to see the fairies and these sort of euphemisms. I'm assuming the euphemisms there about there's all these these fairies in the other room making all this noise. I don't know what's going on.
But fortunately, they leave me $1 to keep my mouth shut.
Oh, okay.
Flipping it's like, yeah.
It's a Bullingdon Club meeting.
It's just really interesting. It's just there's so many characters, and I think live it's not so much an issue. I think it's quite difficult for anyone watching this to be following precisely who's what and who's connected. Any other thoughts before we go a little further into the action to get a bit more evidence? Sarah?
I was just highly diverted by the plot to make the aristo fall in love with the daughter, you know, because clearly that's going to work really well. They're setting that up like, yeah. Just made me laugh because, you know, that's the kind of foolproof plan that, you know, always works.
We approve this message. I mean, the way I sort of just think about the way I was responding, I was smiling a lot listening to this. There was a little smile crept up on my face. It was very pleasing, even if I wasn't quite following always what was going on. It was always pleasant. Okay, let's move forward. We're going to run 2 scenes into each other. We're going to finish the act because there's 2 relatively short scenes to get a bit more sense of how the action flows. Hopefully, we won't have people talking to themselves. Enter Albadura, Hyanthe, Leander, and Moth.
My dear Hyanthe, my content, my life, let no new fancy change thee from my love, and from my rival, whom I must not wrong, because he is my father and my prince. Give thou him honour, but give me thy love. Oh, that my rival bound me not in duty to favour him. Then I could tell Hyanthe that he already, with importuned suit, hath to the Brunswick Duchess vowed himself that his desires are careless, and his thoughts too fickle and imperious for love. But I am silent. Duty ties my tongue.
Why? Thinks my joy, my princely Albadur, Hyanthe's faith stands on so weak ground that it will fall or bend with every wind. No storms or lingering miseries shall shake it, much less vain titles of commanding love.
Oh, madam, dispatch him then. Rid him out of this earthly purgatory, for I have such a coil with him o' nights. grunting and groaning in his sleep with, "Oh, Hyanthe, my dear Hyanthe." And then he throbs me in his arms as if he'd gotten a great jewel by the ear.
Away, you wag! And tell me now, my love, what is the cause Earl Casimir, your father, have been so long importunate with me to visit Flores, the brave jeweller?
My father doth so dote on him, my lord, that he thinks he doth honour every man with whom he acquaints with his perfections. Therefore, in any wise, prepare yourself to grace and soothe his great conceit of him. For every gesture, every word he speaks seems to my father admirably good.
Indeed, my lord, his high conceit of him is more than any man alive deserves. He thinks the jeweler made all of jewels, who, though he be a man of gallant spirit, fair spoken and well furnished with good parts, yet not so peerlessly to be admired.
And enter Casimir.
We shall go, my lord. I assure you, you shall behold so excellent a man for his behaviour, for his sweet discourse, his sight in music and heavenly arts, besides the cunning judgment of his eye in the rare secrets of all precious gems, that you will sorrow that you have stayed so long.
Alas, why would not then your lordship's favour hasten me sooner? For I long to see him on your judicial commendation.
Come, let's away then. Go you in, Hyanthe, and if my lord the duke come in my absence, see him, I pray, with honour entertained.
And exit, which is lucky because he's playing himself.
I will, my lord.
I will accompany your ladyship if you vouchsafe it.
Come, good Leander.
And they exit. We go into Act 1, Scene 3. Enter Constantine, Catherine, go Vandercleer with others.
Lord Vandercleer, go, Lord Ambassador, from us to the renowned Duke of Saxon, and know his highness' reason and intent, why, being of late with such importunate suit betrothed to our fair sister dowager of this our dukedom, he doth now protract the time he urged with such speed of late his honoured nuptial rites to celebrate.
But good my lord, temper your embassy with such respective terms to my renown, that I be cleared of all immodest haste to have our promised nuptials consummate. For his effects perhaps follow the season, hot with the summer then, now cold with winter, and dames, though ne'er so forward in desire, must suffer men to blow the nuptial fire.
Madam, your name in urging his intent shall not be used, but your right great princely brothers, who, knowing it may breed in vulgar brains that shall give note to this protraction, unjust suspicion of your sacred virtues, and other reasons touching the estate of both their famous dukedoms, sendeth me to be resolved of his integrity.
To that end go, my honourable lord. Commend me and my sister to his love, if you perceive not he neglects our own, and bring his princely resolution.
Commend not me by any means, my lord, unless your speedy granted audience and kind entreaty make it requisite. For honour rules my nuptial appetite.
And at the end of those two scenes, we have established that more people are horny.
Or pretending not to be.
Or pretending not to be, yes. I feel for Moth as bedfellow to his master, who's obviously clinging on to him in the middle of the night in ways that are deeply inappropriate. Yes, poor Moth. So Lois.
Well, this is a prize collection of hypocrites, isn't it? I mean, you get the son saying that, I'm too dutiful a son to tell you all the dirt about my father, which is, and he proceeds to tell all of it. And then you get this weird scene of, we don't have any suspicions at all about Catherine. So, for example, we're going to do this. I mean, it's just everybody kind of going round and around.
Other thoughts? I mean, it's quite difficult to articulate because it's still quite confusing as to who everybody is in relation to each other. I'm finding that quite difficult to hold on to. I'm getting a sense of these characters without really feel I've got the plot nailed down. But then maybe we're not supposed to have the plot nailed down. Alan, did I see a hand?
Yes, I mean, I'm just wondering, it's unusual. We seem to have got 2 clown roles so far, with Moth and Haunts doing very, very similar material as servants to 2 of the principals.
More than one clown is available. I mean, you've got to remember that actors can do comedy without being explicitly a clown. And, you know, it is done. You sometimes are given funnies. I mean, it's also that we've got so many characters and so many different intersecting plot lines that you kind of feel they need two clowns available. Helen?
If anybody is feeling completely baffled by who's who, I should say it took me about a day and a half to work out the dramatis personae that you've got here at the beginning, putting them all, sorting out who was actually whom. So yeah, it'll be so much easier when there are actual people in actual costumes.
Yes, because we've got a lot of names. Some of them are relatively similar to each other, and they're sort of all being flown at us. And it's something in performance we need to be very clear about how you'd signify who's who and how they're interconnected.
And also their relative status, because the costume tells you exactly what you've got. You know.
Excellent. Any other thoughts before we move forward, Lynn?
Oh, so can I assume that the aristocrat, that the jeweler wants to fall in love with his daughter, is either the father or the son that's in love with Hyanthe? Can we extrapolate that yet? I'm so confused already. Are we just not going to give that away?
I can't interpolate for you myself because I'm not there yet.
Yeah, there's also who is the person that the Duchess is actually betrothed to?
The father of the father-son duo that's in love with Hyanthe.
Yeah, to Casimir. So Casimir is in love with Hyanthe, but he's betrothed to the Duchess of Brunswick or something, who is Catherine, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Yes, I can keep track.
Yeah, you got it. Don't worry.
Okay. I think all that matters for us at this precise second is that there's a lot to take in, and we're not necessarily taking it in, and maybe that's an issue that needs to be addressed, or maybe not. I'm still enjoying it, even if I'm not really clear who is doing what to whom and how publicly. So let's move on to Act 2 and see if we get more clues and get a better sense of it knitting together. Enter Hans, Lassingberg, and others following, serving in a banquet.
Sir, it is not your painting alone makes you absolute man. There's a finer hand to be required in carrying a dish, a sweetheart to be showed in it as any masterpiece whatsoever. Better than as you painted the doctor in now with his nose in a urinal.
Be quiet, sir, or I'll paint you by and by, eating my master's comfits.
Just going to pause there briefly. Are we going with comfits being is it pushing face into food or something else?
Well, they're laying out the banquet, and Hans is nicking the food.
Yeah.
It's the food thing again.
Doctor, as ever, is always interested in urinals. That's they're always interested in the stool and the color of the liquid. Okay, just checking I was on the right track there. Okay, so he'll keep the preliminary sketches if the final pictures are lost. So they exit them. Enter Flores, Casimir, Albadura, Cornelia, and Moth.
Prince Alberdur, my great desire to answer the greatness of your birth and high deserts with entertainment fitting to your state makes all things seem too humble for your presence.
Courteous Signor Flores, your kind welcome is worthy the present of the greatest prince, and I am bound to good Earl Casimir for honouring me with your desired acquaintance.
Will it please you, therefore, to draw near, my lord?
Will it please your grace to sit?
No, good Signor Flores, I am here admiring the cunning strangeness of your antique work. For though the general tract of it be rough, yet it is sprinkled with rare flowers of art. See what a lively, piercing eye is here. Mark the conveyance of this lovely hand. Where are the other parts of this rare cheek? Is it not pity that they should be hid?
More pity 'tis, my lord, that such rare art should be obscured by needy poverty, but a simple man kept in my house.
Come, sirrah, you are a practitioner. Let's have your judgment here.
Will you have a stool, sir?
Aye, and I thank you too, sir.
Hath this young gentleman such skill in drawing?
Many great masters think him for his years exceeding cunning.
Now, sir, what think you?
My lord, I think more art is shadowed here than any man in Germany can show, except Earl Lassingberg. And in my conceit, this work was never wrought without his hand.
Earl Lassingberg, ay me, my jealous thoughts suspect of mischief which I must prevent. Hans, call Lucilia and the painter straight. Bid them come to attend us at our feast. Is not your great yet weary of this object? I'll show your lordship things more worth the sight, both for their substance and their curious art.
Thanks, good Sir Flores.
See then, my lord, this agate that contains the image of that goddess and her son, whom ancient held their sovereigns of love. See naturally, wrought out of the stone, besides the perfect shape of every limb, besides the wondrous life of her bright hair, a waving mantle of celestial blue, embroidering itself with flaming stars.
Most excellent. And see besides, my lords, how Cupid's wings do spring out of the stone, as if they needed not the help of art.
My lord, you see all sorts of jewels here. I will not tire your grace with view of them. I'll only show you one, fair agate more, commended chiefly for the workmanship.
Oh, excellent! This is the very face of Casimir, by viewing both at once. Either I think that both of them do live, or both of them are images and dead.
My lord, I fear I trouble you too long. Will it please your lordship taste these homely cates?
First, if it please you, give me leave to greet your princely hand with this unworthy gift, yet worthy since it represents yourself.
What? Myself, lady? Trust me, it is pity so fair a gem should hold so rude a picture.
My lord, 'tis made a jewel in your picture, which otherwise had not deserved the name.
Kind mistress, kindly I accept your favour.
And enter Lassingberg, Hans, and Lucilia.
Here, you young gentlemen, do you know this man?
Yes.
Exit Han randomly at that point.
Yes, Signor Flores, 'tis Earl Lassingberg. My lord, what mean you to come thus disguised?
Ay me.
The foolish boy is mad. I am Cornelius. Earl Lassingberg. Never heard of him.
Oh, Lassenberg, we know your villainy and thy dishonor, fond Lucilia. Asked that I was, dull, senseless, gross-brained fool, that daily saw so many evident signs of their close dealings, winkings, becks, and touches, and what not, to enforce me to discern, had I not been effectuate even by fate. Your presence, noble lords, in my disgrace doth deeply move me, and I here protest most solemnly in sight of heaven and you, that if Earl Lassenberg this day refuse to make fair amends for this foul trespass done, I will avenge me on his treacherous heart, though I sustain for him 1,000 deaths.
This action, traitor Lassenberg, deserves great satisfaction, or else great revenge.
Believe me, gallant Earl, your choice is fair. and you're worthy your most honourable love.
My lord, it grieves me to be thus unmasked and made ridiculous in the self of love. But for Lucilia's honour, I protest, not for the desperate vow that Florus made. She was my wife before she knew my love, by secret promise made in sight of heaven. The marriage which he urgeth, I accept, but this compulsion and unkind disgrace hath altered the condition of my love, and filled my heart with irksome discontent.
My lord, I must prefer mine honour still before the pleasure of the greatest monarch, which since your lordship seeks to gratify with just and friendly satisfaction, I will endeavour to redeem the thought of all of your affection and the lost love to us. Will it please you therefore now to associate this worthy prince at this unworthy banquet?
My lord, let me entreat your company.
Hold me excused, fair prince. My grieved thoughts are far unmeet for festival delights. Here will I sit and feed on melancholy, a humour now most pleasing to my taste.
Lucilia, wait the pleasure of your love. My lord, now to banquet. Daughter, command us to carouse a wine.
And music sounds a while, and they sing Bois à la Fontaine.
My lord, I greet you at this first carouse, and as this wine, the element's sweet soul, shall grow in me to blood and vital spirit, so shall your love and honor grow in me.
I pledge you, sir.
Casimir?
How like you him, my lord?
Exceeding well.
And once again, they all sing Bois à la Fontaine.
Cornelia, do you serve the prince with wine?
She puts the powder into the cup and gives it to the prince.
I thank you, lady. Earl Casimir, I greet you, and remember your fair Hyanthe.
I thank your honor.
And sing once again Bois à la Fontaine.
Fill my lord Casimir his right of wine.
Cornelia, I give you this dead carouse.
I thank your lordship.
And they all sing again.
What, smoke? Smoke and fire?
What means your honor?
Powder, powder, at the sulphur fire, quench it, quench it!
I fear the medicine hath distempered him. Oh, villain doctor!
Down with the battlements, pour water on. I burn, oh, give me leave to fly out of these flames, these fires that compass me.
And he exits.
What an unheard of accident is this? Would God, friend Flores, had not happened here?
My lord, 'tis sure some planet striketh him. No doubt the fury will away again.
I'll follow him.
And he does. Exit Casimir.
What hellish sprite ordained this fateful feast that ends with horror thus and discontent?
I hope no danger will succeed therein. However, I resolve me to conceal it. My lord, will it please you now to change this habit and deck yourself with ornaments more fit for celebration of your marriage?
Aye, put on me what attire you will. My discontent that dwells within me still.
Sigh, Lassenberg. Sigh, he sighs. It's interesting that the I don't know if it's a carouse, as it were. It seems to be the pledging, drinking, and some sort of music thing occurs as they do that. I don't know if it's a one-liner or it's a full song. You've got to remember, Boys' Company, you're going to get a song most acts. It's what they do. So that's an interesting question of how long those songs go. Flora's very interested about the whole food. Would you like to sit at the food? There's the thing, and obviously the too much goes in the drink. Something goes a bit wrong there. Very nicely done, Sasha. Flores has a lot of asides and changes directions where we need to note down in the script as well. There's quite a few times where he's talking to the audience going, ta-da, moments. I love Earl Lassenberg. I never heard of him. Who's that?
I don't know her.
This is a wonderful example of someone coming on stage in disguise and everyone just going, what are you doing? It's not like, oh, I've put a hood on and now nobody can knows who I am. He walks on, just, we know who you are. We've met you.
Clark Kent disguise doesn't work.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Sasha, were you waving?
Bacchanalic behaviour are all around in this scene, I think. Oh dear. Absolute excess, and then you get the whole thing with way too much of the powder, on fire. But yeah,
We've all had a curry like that.
Yeah, this is a play about excess. I mean, we've clearly looked at the fact of everybody's lusting after one another, and now we've got this over excessive in food and drink, and it's like, my God, what sin's going to be explored next? Is it going to be a 7 deadly sins exploration here?
It's also Lassenberg's sort of slight, the almost excess of his emotions as well. Everyone seems to have an excess of emotions. I see lots of hands. I'll start with Lois.
Yeah, Lassenberg's really odd. I mean, he starts out being apparently madly in love with Lucilia, but then when they say, okay, you're Earl Lassenberg, and her father, Floris, says, well, you better marry her after this. And then he suddenly decides he doesn't really want to now that they're forcing him into it. And then he sulks for the rest of the scene. I mean, I don't really get it, but that seems to be the trajectory.
Have you never met a young man before?
Yeah.
If we can work on the assumption that he got what he wanted during the painting phase, maybe the idea of marriage was not part of the plan. I don't know. Sarah, I saw a hand.
Yeah, no, I was pretty much going to say exactly what Lois just said. I could not understand how, in the course of one speech, he just pivoted so completely and became so upset. But you've just answered the question for me, so that's fine.
Well, he's also just been unmasked, so this wasn't the game he was planning on playing for this scene. He was going to continue pretending to be a painter.
But I couldn't, I think I perhaps misunderstood the speech, because it seemed to me, I can't find it now from what he said, that he's not already married secretly to Lucilia. Is he?
Yeah, that's what it sounded like.
That's what it seemed to imply. It seemed to imply he was like, oh no, don't worry about her honor because we're already secretly married. Yeah. And now I'm really depressed about that. And I was just like, what just happened?
Yeah. I mean, maybe he does mean that he has slept with her, and that's what he means as people
right.
say someone's my wife. Yeah.
Yeah, this speech here, but for Lucilia's honour I protest, not for the desperate vow that Flores made. She was my wife before she knew my love. By secret promise made in sight of heaven, the marriage which he urgeth I accept. So it's like, that's all fine. And then it's like, oh no, I'm really depressed.
I wonder if it's just simply he's been found out, and therefore that the reality of that does not please him.
Yeah, maybe the fun's gone.
It sounds a bit like, the fun's get out of the game, because it's no fun when it's all official.
Yeah. Helen.
I was about to say it's no fun when it's all official.
We spent too much time together.
Yeah, and it's in this scene that you get a sense of stuff we've encountered earlier now starting to come into focus and going, right, I kind of know where we are now. We've been set up with the whole powder business. We know that's happening. Lassenberg's come in. So getting a bit more of a sense of how the plot fits together is nice. So I wonder if we need to be too worried about people being confused in the opening or not, and just let it wash over them. So long as it's fun, then I think that's the thing that matters. But other thoughts before we move on? We've got a couple more scenes in this act.
Is the Doctor Dodypoll?
Yes.
Yeah, the doctor who supplied the powder was Dr. Dodypoll, yes.
Except that his name isn't Dodypoll, it's Doddy.
It's Doddy.
So maybe he's Polish.
Now, the Paul is his head, isn't it? His brain.
No.
never attempt to make
Never
jokes
mind.
with
Never
people who
mind,
know
never
things.
mind.
Okay.
It'll work itself out eventually.
Okay, let's go on to the next scene then. Act 2, Scene 2. Scene with Hans and the Doctor. So enter Hans Solus.
Hang on.
Whom shall a man trust? A painter? No. A servant? No. A bedfellow? No. For seeming for to see, it falls out right. All day a painter, and an earl at night.
And enter the Doctor.
Ho, Zachary, bid Ursula brush my 2-3 fine damask gown. Spread the rich coverlet on the fair bed. Wash the fine plate. Smoke all the chamber with a sweet perfume.
Here's the Doctor. What a gaping his wisdom keeps in the street, as if he could not have spoken all this within.
Oh, Zachary, if the grand patient come, you find me Signor Flores.
By your leave, Master Doctor.
Hans, my very special friend, faith and truth me be right glad to see you well.
What do you make a calf of me, Monsieur Doctor?
Oh no, pardonnez-moi, I say well. Well, I be glad to see you well, in good health.
Oh, I am sick, Monsieur Doctor. Very exceeding sick, sir.
Sick? Tell me, by gar, me cure you presently.
Dead palsy, Monsieur Doctor, a dead palsy.
Where?
Here, Monsieur Doctor, I cannot feel.
By God, you be the brave merry man, the proper fine proper man, the very fine brave little proper sweet Jack man. By God, me love you, me honor you, me kiss your foot.
Oh, you shall not stoop so low, good Monsieur Doctor. Kiss higher, if it please you.
In my throat, me honor you.
Aye, but you give me nothing, sir.
No, by God, me give the high commendation, pass all the gold, precious pearl in the world.
Ah, sir, pass by it, you mean so, sir. Well, I shall have your good word, I see, Monsieur Doctor.
I said,
but not a rag of money.
No, by my throat, no point money. Give me the beggar the money. No point the brave man.
We're not so brave in your mouth. But I can tell you news, Master Doctor.
What be that?
Well, the young prince hath drunk himself mad at my master's today.
By God, drunk, I think.
No, sir, stark mad. He cries out as if the town were afire.
By God, me suspect a thing.
Nay, I can tell you more news yet.
What news?
If your cap be of capacity to conceive it now, so it is. I'll deal with you by way of interrogation. Who is it must marry with Lucilia Bright, all day a painter, and an earl by night?
By God, me no conceive what you say.
Let wisdom answer. I ask, what is man? A pancake tossed in fortune's frying pan?
What frying pan? By God, I think the foolish petit Jacques is mad.
For as an ass may wear a lion's skin, so noble earls have sometimes painters been.
By Gosbloch, he climbed the clown rats from my house, let me no stay. Let me go seek my fair Cornelia.
And exit the Doctor.
Well, well, Dr. Doddy, in mind and in body, an excellent noddy. Coxcomb in Coney, but that he wants money to give leg and pony. Oh, what a pitiful case is this. What might I have done with this wit if my friends had bestowed learning upon me? Oh, when all's done, a natural gift is worth all.
And exit. I think we've possibly got a t-shirt line there. Let wisdom answer. I ask, what is a man? A pancake tossed in fortune's frying pan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Can we just ask, what is it that Hans has wrong with him? What part of his anatomy can he not feel?
I dread to think.
Yeah. This scene was getting quite steamy, potentially there. All sorts of possibilities going on between the Doctor and his servant there. I'm assuming he's calling off to Zachary, who's off stage. That's another servant, I'm assuming. So yeah, anyone wish to say what part of his anatomy?
Yeah. But the fact that the Doctor doesn't, the Doctor takes the thing as a joke. He says, "You're a brave, merry man, a fine, proper man." That means that the joke's over by that stage and the Doctor's laughing at it.
Mm.
So, and obviously he doesn't see this as a therapeutic opportunity.
Yeah.
Lois.
Well, and it's pretty obvious that what Hans is suggesting he kiss instead of his foot is something else again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, that was what I thought was seemed quite reasonable. Yes, especially as the Doctor's reply in my trophy, "Me honour you." And then they go back to just recap the plot. It's actually quite a handy one, just recapping certain incidents, just so that we anyone who's not been following gets a bit of a catch up, and perhaps to set up costume changes or something for the next scene. If the next scene is particularly complex, that might be a reason for it. Doesn't exactly advance the plot. It's quite fun. But,
well, yes, the Doctor gets to learn that things have gone seriously amiss.
So immediately just suggests, oh, he got drunk.
No, stark mad.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And then he says, "Oh, I suspect something." So you get in that one line, you get the sense that the Doctor's like, "Oh, that's my potion."
Okay. Other thoughts? Okay, let's move on to Act 2, Scene 3, last scene of the act. And we have the entrance of Alfonso, Hardenberg, Hosherman with others, etc.
The ambassador of Brunswick, good my lord, begins to murmur at his long delays.
Requisite your highness would dismiss him.
Who holds him? Let him go.
My lord, you know his message is more great than to depart so slightly without answer, urging the marriage that your grace late sought with Catherine, sister to the Saxon duke.
Whom, if your highness should so much neglect as to forsake his sister and delude him, considering already your earl jar with the stout landgrave, what harms might ensue?
On my cross, and says 'tis for thee that I neglect the Duchess and my vows.
My lord, 'twere specially convenient your grace would satisfy the ambassador.
Well, call him in.
But will your highness then forsake Hyanthe?
Nothing less, Hoss.
How will you then content the ambassador?
I will delay him with some kind excuse.
What kind excuse, my lord?
For that, let me alone. Do thou but soothe what I myself will presently devise. I will send him satisfied away.
Be sure, my lord, I'll soothe whate'er you say.
Then let them come. We are provided for them.
Enter Van der Cleve, the ambassador, attended.
My Lord Ambassador, we are right sorry our urgent cause have deferred you thus. In the dispatch of that we most desire. But for your answer, No, I am deterred by many late prodigious ostents from present consummation of the nuptials, vowed which your beauteous Duchess and ourself. Oh, what cold fear men's jealous stomachs feel in that they most desire, suspecting still 'tis either too sweet to take effect, or in the effect must meet with some harsh chance to enter vent the joy of the success. The same wish day, my lord, you here arrived, I bade Lord Hardenberg command 2 horse should privately be brought for me and him to meet you on the way for honour's sake, and to express my joy of your repair. When lo, the horse I used to ride upon, that would be gently backed at other times, now offering but to mount him, stood aloft, flinging and bound. You know, Lord Hardenberg,
Yes, my good lord.
and was so strangely out of wonted rule that I could hardly back him.
Well, true, my liege. I stood amazed at it.
Well, yes, I did. And riding, not a furlong, down he fell.
Never heretofore would trip with him.
Yes, I would forward needs, but Hardenberg, more timorous than wise, as I supposed, for love so hardened me, fear was my slave, did dominate such likely ill to me, if I went forward, that with much enforcement of what might chance, he drave me to retreat. Didst thou not, Hardenberg?
I did, my lord.
I warrant thou wilt say, thou never yet sawest any man so loath to be persuaded ill of so ill signs.
Never in all my life.
Thou wonderest at it.
I did indeed, my liege, not without cause.
Oh, blame not Hardenberg, for thou dost know how sharp my heart was set to entertain the lording of this embassage lovingly.
True, my good lord.
But coming back, how gently the jade went. Did he not, Hardenberg?
As any horse on earth could do, my lord.
Well, sir, this drew me into deep conceit, and to recomfort me, I did command Lord Hardenberg should open cabinet of my choice jewels, and to bring me thence a ring, a rich and violet hyacinth, whose sacred virtue is to cheer the heart and to incite our heavenly spirits to mirth, which, putting on my finger, swift did break. Now this, indeed, did much discomfort me, and heavy to the death I went to bed, for in a slumber I did strongly think I should be married to the beauteous Duchess, and coming to my chapel to that end, Duke Constantine, her brother, with his lords, and all our peers, methought, attending us, forth comes my princely Catherine, led by death, who, threatening me, stood close unto her side, urging by those most horrible portents, that wedding her, I married my own death. Affrighted in my sleep, struggled and sweat, and in the violence of my thoughts cried out, so loud that Hardenberg awaked and rose. Didst thou not, Hardenberg?
I felt I did, for never yet, my lord, was I in heart and soul so much dismayed.
Why, thus you see, my lord, how your delays were mightily and with huge course and force.
And finally, the Ambassador Van der Cleve is given the chance to speak.
Oh, frankly, but dreams, my lord, you know, grown by the humours of the moist night, which store vapours lending unto our stomachs when we are in sleep, and to the body's supreme parts ascending, are thence set back by coldness of the brain, and these present are idle fantasies, with nothing true but what our labouring souls without their active organs safely work.
My lord, you know there are 2 sorts of dreams. One sort whereof are only physical, and such are they whereof your lordship speaks. The other, hyperphysical, that is, dreams sent from heaven or from the wicked fiends, which nature doth not form of her own power, but are extrinsic by marvel wrought. Such was mine. Yet, notwithstanding this, I hope fresh stars will govern in the spring, and then assure your princely friend, your master, our promise in all honour shall be kept. Return this answer, Lord Ambassador, and recommend me to my sacred love.
I will, my lord, but how it will be accepted I know not yet. Yourself shall shortly hear.
Lords, some of you associate him.
Yes, I suspect the ha-ha is after the exit of the ambassador, exeunt all but Alfonso and Hardenberg.
Exceeding well and gravely good, my lord.
Come, let's go and visit my Hyanthe, she whose perfections are of power to move the thoughts of Caesar, did he live to love.
And they exit. It's a scene of the exercise of just keep talking. Don't let the ambassador say anything. And it's the question of, is Hardenberg good on his cues, or is Alfonso constantly having to kick him in the shins? Isn't that right, Alfonso? Oh, yes. Yes. Ooh, ooh. Or does he get into the game very early on? The question is,
I think he's a well-trained courtier.
Yeah, well, it's a question of also, how much does Alfonso know the end of this story at the start of it? He doesn't have much thinking time.
Yeah.
So it's a question of how much of this is just coming out of his brain instantaneously, and how much of this is semi-planned in the sort of 12 lines he's got, notice he's got.
Yeah.
I love the way the ambassador just goes, well, I can pass the message on. I'm not going to tell you how well it's going to be received.
Yes, I don't somehow think the ambassador has been convinced. I think it's the way that Alfonso is continually having to say to Hardenberg, did he not? Did you not? Didn't it? Hardenberg never volunteers any of this. He just jumps in and agrees.
Well, he does improve on it once or twice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the original.
Yes.
Yeah.
Other thoughts? It's a fun scene in that sense. It's nice to have a game you can give the actors to play with, because you can play this scene different ways and it can evolve as you go. Eric, I saw a hand.
I was just going to say that it's interesting how there's so much talk of Hyanthe, but she's only been on stage for 5 maybe lines or something, maybe or 8 lines. I don't know how much she got at the beginning of the play, and it's all this talk of this woman who has not appeared very much. They probably don't know her very well. They're just oh yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah, I think she's had 12 lines so far, or thereabouts. Lois.
Yeah, and she's a jewel, isn't she, as well? I mean, she's compared to a jewel. We have a jeweler as a character. There's an awful lot of talk about jewels and about painting, which is quite interesting, actually. I don't know what it's got to do with the plot, but it seems to be sort of an extra layer.
Yes, there's an awful lot of objectification of the female love interests here. They're turned into a painting. They're turned into objects, and throughout. So there's a lot to be asked about what this text is doing, and that might be something to talk about when we actually look at staging it. Lynn.
Yes, and portraiture seems to be a motif as well. The jewels that the jeweler is showing to the Earl are basically cameos. It sounds like portraits carved into agate of various people, including the Earl himself. So jewelry, portraiture, of that kind of the artifice. It's sort of a cluster of images we've got going.
This is a play where I think the aesthetic is going to matter a lot more than with some others. Eric.
Also, you kind of get the impression that something is obviously Flores is plotting, for the sort of love match, but also there's something else going on for him to become so attached to people of higher status, because his opinion suddenly matters and stuff. And he's oh yeah, didn't Casimir sort of goes, oh yeah, isn't it brilliant? And it's what do you think?
Yeah. Sasha.
Talking of status, wasn't there something in this particular era that, depending on how much jewels that you had. It was something to do with the artistry. If somebody was to basically lay their eyes on that picture, you could tell a lot about a person's status, and whether you wanted to marry somebody from there, or have I got that completely mixed up with something else?
Well, I mean, portraits were certainly used that way. I mean, sent to people to, the famous case of Anne of Cleves with Holbein. Yeah. But I don't think there was any particular belief around it. It was just the obvious thing to do, or the only thing to do, really, if you wanted to see what someone looked like.
Yeah, I just wondered if there was something quite significant, the way that the paintings are being highlighted in general throughout this piece. I wonder if there's a little play on that, maybe.
I'm puzzled about that one they were talking about in the previous scene, because it was bits of Lucilia in the picture. And I mean, it could just be that that's the state that the painting is in. He's done a drawing and then he's been touching up different bits of it, but it seemed very odd. As if I mean, this is the sort of thing they talk about in The Blazon, where they dismember the woman and talk about her, bit by bit. But I'm not really sure about that.
Okay, things to look at in the future. Eric?
I was going to say, well, I mean, obviously Helen might know more about this, but wasn't there like a law regarding what kind of jewelry certain social groups and certain social status, like if you were a merchant, for example, you couldn't wear certain types of jewelry or something? I don't know if that's true or not. In the Elizabethan era.
No, it was fabric. Sometimes it was color, but very, very rarely it was color, but mostly it was fabric. It was, what status you had to be before your wife could have more fur than collar and cuffs. It was that sort of thing. And these laws were consistently broken. But jewelry, fundamentally, it was what you could afford.
Yeah, if you're really high status, you can afford pucker stones, and that and people can tell if they're not.
And I mean, I'm chasing at the moment a jeweled hat band, which was taken from a captain on the voyage to Cadiz in '96, and may or may not have come through Hull. And the cost of it, I mean, 2 stones out of it were valued at more than the whole of Hull was worth. I don't think it ever got to Hull, but I mean, these jewels were incredibly expensive.
Okay, the farcical nature of this play is starting to build, he said, hopefully. And we go into Act 3, which we are going to only get halfway through in this session. So we're going to go Act 3, Scene 1. Enter Flores, Casimir, Lassenberg, Lucilia, Cornelia, Hans, and Doctor, and hopefully we have no clashes of speakers, and that will all function. Hans first.
God give you more joy of your husband than your husband has of you.
Fie, too bad by my faith. What, my lord? Melancholy? And had the sweet bride, the fair bride, a very fine bride. Oh, monsieur, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with a brave capra. Hey!
The doctor would make a fine frisking usher in a dancing school.
Oh, by God, you must dance the brave Galliard. A pox of this melancholy.
My lord, your humours are most strange to us. The humble fortune of a servant's life should in your careless state so much displease.
Sorry. Quod licet ingratum est, quod non licet acrius urit.
Could my child's beauty move you so, my lord, when law and duty held it in restraint, and now they both allow it be neglected?
I cannot relish joys that are enforced, for were I shut in paradise itself, I should as from a prison strive to escape.
Hapless Lucilia, worst in her best estate.
Ye seek me out some unfrequented place, free from these importunities of love, and only love would mine own fancy like.
Oh, stay, my lord.
What means Earl Lassenberg?
Sweet Earl, be kinder.
Let me go, I pray.
What? You go leave the bride? 'Tis no point good fashion. You must stay, by God.
Must I stay, sir?
I spit your nose, and yet it is no violence. I will give the proof and the good reason. Regarde, monsieur. You no point eat the meat today, you be empty. By God, you be empty. You be no point well. By God, you be very sick. You no point leave the provision. By God, you stay. Spit in your nose.
All stays have strength like to thy arguments.
Lassenberg goes to move, but Casimir stays him.
Dear lord.
Most honored Earl.
Nothing shall hinder my resolved intent, but I will restless wander from the world till I have shaken off these chains from me.
And exit Lassenberg.
And I will never cease to follow thee, till I have won thee from these unkind thoughts.
Bliss Lucilia.
And exit Lucilia.
Unkind Lassenberg.
By God, this Earl be the choleric complexion, almost shipshack, beggar. He no point stay for one place. Madame, me be no so laxative, me be bound for no point move 6, 7, 500 year from you, sweet side. Beggar, me be as the fine curionet about your vita heart, neck. My heart be closed, tied to you, as is your fine basket, a fine garter, but your fine leg.
A good, sensible doctor. How feelingly he talks.
A plague of a merchant. Blow wind.
You need not curse him, sir. He has the storms at sea by this time.
Oh, fort bien. A good seasick jest by this fair hand. Blow wind for me. Puh, he no come here, madame.
Come, noble Earl, your kind presence grace our feast prepared for this obdurate lord, and give some comfort to his sorrowful bride, who in her piteous tears swims after him.
Me bear you company, Signor Flores.
It shall not need, sir.
By God, this be the sweet haven for me to anchor.
You are a sweet smell feast, doctor, that I see. I'll no such tub hunters use my house, therefore be gone. Our marriage feast is dashed.
What speak me a me the feast? Me spurn, me kick at the feast. By God, me tell me do the grand grace, the favor for supper, for dinner, for eat with. By God's blood, we have at home the restorative, the quintessence, the pure distilled gold, the nectar, the ambrosia. Zachary, make ready the fine Patrick, the pâte de grande Ottomon.
Zachary is not here, sir, but I'll do it for you. What is that Ottomon, sir?
Ah, the grand Bayaret de Mahomet, the grand Turc Bagar.
Ah, a turkey, sir. Yeah, you would have it roasted, would you? I would call him an Ottoman.
Have the whole air of fowl at command?
You have the fowl at command, sir. You might. Sorry.
Oh,
That's Flores.
You have the fool at command, sir. You might have bestowed yourself better. Well, please you walk, Master Dr. Dodypoll.
Exeunt all but the doctor.
How? Dodypoll? God bless. Dr. Doddy, non point poule. You be paltry jackknife, by God. The doctor is Nicast. The doctor is rage. The doctor is fury, by God. The doctor is horrible, terrible fury. Well, there be a thing me think, by gas bleu me no. Me be revenged. Me tell the duke. Well, me say no more. Chock de self foul churl, foul, horrible, terrible pig, pay, cod.
Exit Dr. Doddy, never to be called Poll, to his face. Lots and lots of things happening in that scene. So yeah, let's start the top, shall we? So they're all huddling around Lassingberg, who's just going, "Oh, I can't enjoy things I'm allowed. I'm only allowed forbidden fruits," in Latin. And everyone's going, "Yeah, but what about the bride?" And the bride follows him forever as he goes off wandering, followed by the bride. And so I don't know if anyone's going to follow the bride and someone will follow them, and or anything like that. And they all fall down a hole, and there's a giant strawberry. It's a reference that almost no one will get. Yeah, thoughts about Lassenberg? Are we impressed with him?
None of the posh boys are behaving well.
They never do.
Eric, I saw a hand.
I was just gonna say it's a bit like Corpse Bride, but like like without the animation and the skeletons and the zombies. I don't know if that's just me. Sort of like her going, "Oh my God, I'm are you my love? Are you my love?" And obviously, the main character does not. I can't remember his name, but like does not really show any interest until he starts to feel bad.
Other thoughts about Lassenberg, or shall we move on? We'll move on. So then we get into the Doctor's showpiece. Now, question here: is the Doctor during sort of the midway of that scene, after the Lucilia and Lassenberg exit, is he sort of semi-flirting with Cornelia at that point? Because she's listed as being present, and isn't that the one he fancies?
Yes.
So there's a whole thing. Cornelia never says anything, and yet she gets leched on by the Doctor for a good 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I just think that's important to highlight for the people who aren't looking at the script. Anyone watching this, there's something quite odd about the way the scene functions with people who don't say anything.
Yeah. On top of that, he and the merchant were rivals for her in the first act, and now they just mention the merchant as having the storms at sea by this time. Has he left the play?
Seems to
So
be.
it would seem.
Yeah. So his rival's out the way, so he can flirt to his heart's delight.
Well, I think lech rather than flirt.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I mean, the garter around her fine leg and the busk around her fine bosom.
Yeah, and you're no laxative. Oh, comedy misuse of language.
Presumably he's got his physicality is as exuberant as the language, though. So
yeah,
it would make sense, wouldn't it? If you were playing Dodypoll, you'd think, well, there's a lot of big business going on while the plot is advancing. You can genuinely get something out of telling Dr. Doddy to talk to a non-speaking character for 5 minutes, whereas most others you can't.
I think when he keeps on counting, he's actually dancing.
Otherwise, he does start turning his tone from Sesame Street.
Yeah, I think he's doing little set to your partner steps.
Yeah, and really awkwardly and not gracefully. That would be funnier.
Yeah,
but with a certain enthusiasm and I find he moves very fast. I can tell you this, reading it cold is not fun.
Yes, I was going to say, well done. Attempting an accent. Zachary continues to be off stage. I like the way that. I wonder if there isn't a Zachary. Maybe he actually got sacked months ago, and you've just forgotten. And it's just Hans is just going, "I'll do it." Yeah, Zachary's in another room.
Zach had enough. He ran off. He's gone.
I was going to say, maybe it's that thing of like just him calling Hans like Zachary by well, not by accident, but like, you know, not having bothered to learn his name properly.
He does
like,
call
hey,
him
you're
Hans at one
disposable.
point, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah, good point.
And then we get the really laboured wordplay on Turkey. Really, I mean, they set that up a mile away.
Mm.
You know, it takes 5 minutes to set the joke up, and then the joke's not very funny. But yeah, and then Flores is rude about him, and vows revenge. You know, hot temper is Doctor Doddy.
Mm.
Don't cross him. So I just saw in chat, Zachary is Maris. So yes, there's a lot of that Frasier as a television series crosses over with this. The sort of farcical elements of this is it fits quite well. So yeah.
Yes.
We have one more scene to go. Just a note for when we reach about a third of the way in, when enter Albadure mad, the two lines that are in the script as Alfonso, they're Albadure lines. So just to preempt you on that, there are two lines that are misplaced. It's when Albadure enters mad, and it should be relatively obvious when we get there, he said. So Act 3, Scene 2 doesn't actually have an opening stage direction to say that Leander and Hyanthe have entered.
I wonder what variety of sights retains your father and the prince so long with Signor Flores.
Oh, Signor Flores is a man so ample in every complement of entertainment. That guests with him are, as in Bowers Enchanted, bereft of all power and thoughts of their return.
Enter the Duke and Hardenberg.
Be silent, here's the Duke.
I may behold your son, Lord Hardenberg, courting Hyanthe.
If he be courting, 'tis for you, my liege.
No, Hardenberg, he loves my son too well. My Hyanthe. What discourse is it, wherewith Leander holds you this attention? Would I could think upon the like for you.
You should but speak and pass the time, my lord.
Pastime that pleaseth. You is the use of time. Had I the ordering of his winged wheel, it should only serve your desires and mine. What should it do if you did govern it?
It should go back again and make you young.
Swoons, Hardenberg.
To her again, my lord.
Hyanthe, would thou love me? I would use thee so kindly that nothing should take thee from me.
But time would soon take you from me, my lord.
Spite on my soul, I talk I more of time. She's too good for me at time, by heaven.
Aye, and place too, my lord, I warrant her.
Stop! Enter Albadure mad, Motho and others following him.
Oh, stay, my lord.
And this is Albadure saying these next lines. You're muted.
It's all right. Technical issues there, sorry. Hyanthe, oh me, my love.
Here's the Duke, his father, Helmar all.
Oh, villain. He that locked her in his arms and through the river swims along with her. Stay, treacherous Nessus, give me bows and shafts. Whirr! I have struck him under the short ribs. I come, Hyanthe. Oh, peace, weep no more.
And he exits, presumably still mad.
Means he not me by Nessus, Hardenberg?
My lord, he is surely mad.
Hyanthe loves him. See how she trembles and how pale she looks. She hath implanted my dear Albadure with crafts and treasons and most villainous arts, a means by which she seeks to murder him. Hardenberg, take her and imprison her within thy house. I will not loose my son for all the wealth the loves of heaven embrace.
What means your grace by this?
Away with her!
You offer me intolerable wrong.
Away with her, I say!
Come, lady, fear not. I'll entreat you well.
What injury is this?
And exit Hardenberg with Hyanthe.
So now I have obtained what I desired. I shall easily work her to my will, for she is in the hands of Hardenberg, who will continually be pleading for me.
And enter the Doctor.
Rome, a hole begot. Where's the Duke?
Here, Master Doctor.
Oh, we have ground on potent matter foretell your grace. How do you know the cause for the which cause your son is the madman?
And enter, speaking of the madman, enter Albadura running.
What? Art thou here? Sweet slick Cleo, sweet Cleo, come be bright. Take me thy timber and tobacco pipe, and give Hyanthe music at her window.
God's blood, my cap cost me deal a French crown.
But I will crown thee with a cod of musk instead of laurel and a pomander. But thou must write across to Guineas first, my girl.
Cassan, what a pox do you stand here for? Le grand patron peasant, and see the Doctor be thus?
Ay me, what demon was it guide me thus? This is Melpomene, that Scottish witch, who I will scratch like to some villainous gib and...
Go, that diable, le pestilence, scableu.
They hold upon him. Help the Doctor there.
Then reason's fled animals I see, and I will vanish like tobacco smoke.
And he exits, indeed.
Oh, pestilence, is this fury?
Follow him, sirs. Leander, good Leander. The Doctor, canst thou tell us the true cause of this sudden frenzy?
Oh, by God. Please your grace to hear the long tale or the short tale.
Brief as you can, good Doctor.
Faith and truth, brief then. Very brief. Very lacking. The prince your son feast with the knave jeweler Flores, and for he make the prince love the foul crop-shouldered daughter Cornelia. Give the prince the love powder which myself gave for the wench before, and make him stark mad begar because he drank too much of her.
How know you this?
Experienced teacher by God, the powder have grown force for inflamed blood. Too much make it a rage and a present fury begar. I fear the madman is the devil, God bless her.
And enter Hardenberg.
How now, sweet Hardenberg?
The prince, my lord, in going down the stairs, hath forced an axe from one of the trabants, and with it, as he runs, makes such clear way as no man dare oppose him to his fury.
Ay me, what may I do? Here are such news as could never have entered our free ears, that their sharpness do enforce a passage. Follow us, Doctor. 'Tis Flores' treachery that thus hath wrought my son's discomfiture.
And exit Alfonso.
Flores, the jeweler?
Aye, he, that fine precious stone knave, by God. I think I shall hit upon her skirt till be threadbare new.
And exit Doctor with Hardenberg. It's a little known fact that there is a missing scene in this this play. There should be a scene where the mad Albadura comes running in, knocking through a door and going, "Here's Albadura." I'll just stop there. Okay. So we have madman scene. Does he nick the Doctor's hat?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, he must.
Because he really not very happy about that. A
Yeah,
deal of
but-
French crowns.
But oh well, French crown's always funny. The last line of the Doctor's, I haven't a clue what it means.
Yeah, I was wondering about that one.
I shall hit upon her skirt till be threadbare new. There's a joke there somewhere.
Got to be, surely. Either some kind of weirdly timed sexual innuendo or something to do with tripping her up, maybe, in a weird sort of way.
Yes, answers on a postcard. No idea for that one. So yes, it's because it opens with this sort of paranoia element of, you know, who's wooing who, who's trying to woo Hyanthe now, you know, what's going on over there? Is that what's happening? Alfonso's constantly doing that. It's all very. It's all...
problems of genre, Rob.
Say again, Elizabeth.
So there are a lot of problems of genre. What genre the play is.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a farce. I think it's, you know, in modern, it's that's the closest modern equivalent. And the boys' companies have got form on this, or will have form. I mean, anyone who's here for Geronimo will know, which is only 5 years away, will know that this kind of just crazy antics is very much up their street. I think it's all a comedy. I don't think there's anything serious happening here at all.
No.
Everything's to be played for laughs. But yeah, it's a bit bonkers. As bonkers as if you take too much love draft in your wine.
The Doctor was told, as I remember it, that Flores wanted it for a woman to make the woman love him. Flores. So he wasn't told that it was going to be given to someone of such exalted social status as to make it practically treasonable.
Yes, he's a respectable quack doctor. You know, that's beyond the pale. Lynn, are you waving?
Yeah. Also, if the Doctor had known that Cornelia was going to give it to the prince, the Doctor would have been less likely to cooperate because he's after Cornelia. So, yeah, the Doctor only figured out later what Flores kind of deceived everybody. The Doctor, the prince. So I guess Flores feels that the Doctor feels safe revealing that because he was sort of duped as well. That makes sense.
Lois.
Yeah, I'm really puzzled about why they're all after Cornelia. I mean, Flores obviously has two daughters, and one is beautiful and one, Cornelia, is not. And he's trying to marry her off to the prince, which is fine. But then why do the Doctor and the merchant want her as well?
Is she explicitly said to be less attractive though?
Well, that's just her father.
Yeah.
Does he always
I got the impression that she was smoking hot, but maybe I missed something.
Although other people are ahead of me. So.
Alan.
I'm just wondering whether there's the less desirable two sisters would carry a better dowry.
Lois?
Yeah, no, there's the line. Let's see, where would it be in the previous scene? It's the Doctor's speech beginning Fate and Troth. He says, the prince your son feast with the knave jeweler Flores, and he for make a prince love at the foul croup shoulder a daughter Cornelia, give it a prince the love powder. I mean, unless the Doctor's lying, but of course he couldn't be. He wants apparently to marry Cornelia himself, but why would he describe her like that? I mean, they can see her.
Yeah, okay, that's getting more confusing. I
mean, I think the Doctor, this isn't going to work out.
Yes, other thoughts? We're almost into extra time, so I'm going to go.
The Doctor could be lying and saying, oh, I don't find her attractive, just to kind of cover his tracks.
Yeah.
or she might be the ugly daughter, but she's the elder daughter, I get the impression. So her desirability might be the fact that she's the jeweler's heir and the jeweler is wealthy.
Getting
I don't
more,
think there's any
more.
doubt the jeweler's wealthy.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, if anything that this player is warning us about is trying to change your social status, it's obviously a disaster. Okay, I'm going to go around the room for final thoughts. We're halfway through the play, and you know, we found you know, lots and lots of things to talk about, and maybe slightly over halfway through. We're nearly finished Act 3. There's lots of business going on. General thoughts, predictions, what might be done with this as a text. I mean, it's got an awful lot of characters. How many of those stick in the mind? Is it reducible, which is always my initial thought? Is this material usable in a slightly different context or a different way? We'll go around the room. Alan first.
I'm not sure you could actually usefully reduce the cast size, because I think the whole point of the thing is the number of people in pursuit of matrimony or whatever. And I think if you started cutting the numbers down, you'd probably lose a lot of the busyness of the play.
Yeah. Any other final thoughts beyond that about the play?
I think it would need to work at a cracking pace to make it sing on stage.
Tamara, final thoughts?
I would, I actually wrote this down as a note, but I think this one is definitely one where you would want to physically workshop it, because there's a lot of people being on stage without speaking. And so I think there's a lot of mute background acting that can clarify things, because I'm still personally finding it a little bit hard to keep track of who is who and who is wanting what sometimes. So I think for me personally, I would want to see it and also have people in costume, which we said really, really early on. Yeah, but otherwise, I'm finding it quite enjoyable, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I have a good handle in my mind on the Flores Doctor Abadura side of things. It's the Alfonso side that I really don't know what all the ins and outs of some of those connective tissues are, and that's something that, yeah, I think the physicality would help. Lynn, final thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Tamara that I'm not sure this would work as audio drama. I think that we would need to see, we have a look as well as a voice, because we've got basically 4 eligible women. We've got Hyanthe, the 2 sisters, and then the Duchess. So we've got at least 4 marriages that are potentially going to take place. So yeah, I think we would need the visual to make it followable. The other thing that I'm thinking is that typically in a rom-com, in you know, the sort of new comedy tradition, it's actually the women that get what they want. That's how those typically fall out. And so it's kind of, and it's going to be kind of hard to see how that's going to happen in a way that's persuasive and satisfying, because the you know, the unfaithful Lassenberg is like, oh, I don't want what I can have, and the Duke who's betrothed to Catherine is like, I want this pretty young thing and not this widow Duchess. So it's kind of hard to see how those men's minds are going to be changed in a way that the audience is going to buy it and be satisfied with that resolution.
Yeah, it's tricky because the women do not have anywhere near as much interaction in the action as the men. It's a very, very male heavy play, and
yeah,
you know,
and in comedy, women usually have more agency than we've seen so far.
yeah, there are a number of women about, but they're not really saying anything, or they're not saying very much. Sasha, final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it, but like Tamara, very confused. I'm very confused as to certain things, and you think you've got it, and then it switches again. So yeah, pretty much acknowledging what's been said already, but looking forward to seeing what happens tomorrow.
Sarah, final thoughts?
Yeah, just continuing on from what Lynn said, I think that it's yeah, as a rom-com, it's very difficult to work out the way a rom-com normally does, because we don't know what the women want. I mean, okay, we kind of know what Lucilia wants, but the other two is like, we haven't a clue, because they just don't get to say anything. So like, yeah, in terms of, yeah, they don't have any agency, but I mean, quite often the women don't have that much agency. But with this one, they are, the two of them at least are, well, three of them really are a complete mystery. So there's no way we can, the play can't be kind of worked out in that traditional rom-com format, because there's no scope for it. It's got to be about the guys, because unless it all changes in the second half, of course, which it might.
Yeah, I just before I'll come back to you in a second. I don't think it is a rom-com in that sense at all. I it's a farce. It's mostly blokes being arses, kind of farce, and there's a lot of fun to be had in that. There's a lot of problems with elements of it, but it's still sort of fun at the same time, so I'm feeling slightly dirty and unclean about enjoying elements of this. Sarah, do continue.
Well, yeah, so I was going to say, like, for me it works much better as a farce. I really love the mad plays, the really bonkers ones, so it's a shame the women aren't getting more words, a bit more characterization, but in general I just think it's great, and I think you have to embrace the nuttiness of it and just go with it like you would do with a restoration farce or something that was written a long time later, because it is a bit of a joy, and it breezes along at such a great pace. I can't wait to find out what happens in the second half.
Lois, final thoughts?
To me, it's almost like a Gilbert and Sullivan comic opera. I mean, with sort of magic potion or lozenge or whatever it is that makes everybody behave weirdly. As there's also been mention of fairies, I take it they can all get out of this, in the sort of with one bound Jack was free type of situation. I mean, I don't know what will happen, but I suspect that 4 people will be happily married. I think Hyanthe does show a certain amount of wit in her conversation with the Duke. I mean, making it very clear that she thinks he's miles too old for her, and she's in love with his son anyway. And the Duchess, although she has practically nothing to say, does show that she's a sensible woman and doesn't want to look as if she's desperate to marry the Duke, but might be able to handle him if she ever meets him. I think that there are some possibilities for the future. One thing I find a bit difficult actually is just that somebody has taken a fair amount of care with the language. I mean, there are bits that are rather beautifully written, although they may be parodies of poetic style, and then there are some quite funny bits as well. The problem is that usually with a farce, you don't pay much attention to what anybody is saying. They're all just running madly around the place, and it's quite often difficult in plays of this period where the writing is in a way too good for the play.
Yes, we do. If you take time to luxuriate in the text, then the play itself suffers, and vice versa. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we don't have quite as much of the sexual innuendo in this sort of middle section than we had in the first. No, that it was very, very sensual and sexual in that opening, or maybe I was just having a dirty mind. But then sort of plot takes over and things just move forward. Yeah. Anyway, Elizabeth, final thoughts?
Yeah. There's the main character is the Doctor, and the Doctor is not endearing to me. It's not like a lovable character. So it's like I agree with some of the things other people have said about how they get a bit confused by the text, and about how the women have, not that much to say. But the doctor is really the main character, and he is it's quite a difficult one to follow. I don't always understand what the doctor's saying and why he's saying it. So I do look forward to tomorrow, to the next bit of the play. I think it's still just warming up. I don't actually think we've really got into the meat of the play yet.
Excellent. Yes. What does one do with a character with an excess? Well, I say excess, written in an accent or written in a dialect, and what do we do to make sure it's clear? Is a good question. Eric, final thoughts?
Well, yeah, it's kind of like it caters to both like sort of the base sensibilities and like sort of higher ones, sort of where it's got like the sort of love speeches and sort of more flowery language, but also the whole running around like a chicken thing. But I think it's kind of weird in that it just well, yeah, the women don't say much, and like we have to remember that this is probably towards the end of Elizabeth's reign. Well, I don't know, I'm not very good with dates, but yeah, in terms of like who was in charge of the nation at the time, but then like how much could they get away with on stage, and how much was said would be interesting. Also, I think it could be staged as one of those like sort of running around doing crazy stuff, but also wouldn't that sort of lose a lot of the language in the process? Even if it was modernized, sort of, yeah.
One of the things the boys' company can get away with is not only being much more rude than this play is, it's actually on the whole quite tame in places, but also they're not short of the opportunity for people to play women in a way that other companies have more of a restriction. So it's slightly there are a reasonable number of female parts. It's just slightly disappointing they don't have quite as many lines. Helen, I think you're the final thought.
Well, I'm enjoying it. Following on from what Eric said, I think that the only thing to do with, and to an extent what Elizabeth said, I think the only thing to do with the Good Doctor is to translate what he says, take it out of cod French, put it into English, and then do it with a French accent. Because trying to actually make it work as it stands is, you spend so much time trying to work out what you're trying to say. It isn't working. I mean, it's only from the chat that I've realized that what I was actually saying was garçon and not some totally foreign and incomprehensible word that I was unable to extract.
Well, I think there's an element that, with familiarity and rehearsal, it gets easier. I mean, it's true. The problem is that it's not a truly French accent. It's sort of a foreign accent. So it's got bits of, all sorts.
There's bits of Italian.
Yeah, which make life very confusing. So, yeah, I think there is some sort of sense of the director and the actor playing Dodypoll making decisions. I said you were the final thought, but because we lost Sasha, I think due to technical problems, the room moved, and I missed Stephen. So, Stephen, I think you're the final thought.
Oh, okay. Well, everything's been said, really, hasn't it? Apart from, I don't know. I'm trying to think about some of these scenes, and they make me think about brackets. There's lots of scenes within scenes, if you like. And that seems to me to fit with what people have been saying about farce, because all of these exits and entrances give us a chance to reset the energy, and particularly with the Doctor to inject some energy. So I think structurally, I'm really interested in the way what's presented here as a scene is actually made up of lots of kind of bits And I think that's to do with the farce, but it's not much of a point really. It's all been said much better by everybody else.
Oh no, it's a good point, and I think it's something we've had in was it in Antonio and Melida? I think there was a similar thing about lots of characters. There are a lot of people on stage, but there's a number of scenes within the scenes. So I'm just wondering if it's something that they do, but that could just be entirely spurious and based on too little information. But no, lots of good things.
Playhouse thing as well.
Yeah.
Because in terms of the spaces that are available to people, the boys sometimes might have had access to different sorts of spaces.
And the question, we've been throwing a lot of modern terms on top of this text. Elizabeth was talking about, what is the genre? And maybe we're trying too hard to fit it into a modern genre, and maybe it is just of its own thing. And we should find out what it wants to do. Which we will when we finish it tomorrow. It's not a long play. We have one more session on it, and then we will have completed it. And all that remains is to thank everyone here, readers past and present, for all their time and their thoughts. And goodbye.
Bye.